Are you getting a bunch of brokies on your webinar? This is the #1 complaint that I hear from coaches and personal brands when running webinars. Everybody's broke, no one has money, my sales team hates it, I can't close deals, and I'm just burning money. In this video, I'm going to be showing you the 4 different ways that we increase lead quality from top to bottom, from easiest to the hardest, and what's most important to ensure that it works for your business. My name is Michael, and I own an agency that runs close to 300 live events every single year across all of our clients. And this channel is dedicated to helping you learn how to run better webinars, live events, evergreens, so you can make more money. Now, to solve the age-old question, how do you get better quality leads to your webinars? And honestly, just into your business, because if you really look at it, majority of people in the world are broke. Most people do not have the money to spend an extra 5, 10K on your coaching program. So how do you get the right people? Well, we have an order of operations that we typically will use. We're not immediately going in and using really complicated methods of getting higher lead quality. We start at the top. And the top one, first one, very foremost, is messaging. Now, before you run a webinar, it's important for you to look at your messaging and look at who you're attracting, right? When we start with clients, sometimes they don't even really think about it, right? Let's say, for example, you're selling real estate investing coaching. The last thing you want to do when you start is zero down, no money, creative financing. Those are things that typically will attract somebody who's poor. People are going to always be attracted to something that's free, easy, cheap, right? Who are my best clients? How much money do they have? What types of jobs do they have? And what did they do before they decided to start investing in real estate or got interested in investing, right? So with that same type of audience, if you're looking at somebody who's like a high income W-2 earner that wants to buy real estate in order to build generational wealth, pass it down to their kids, that messaging is much different than somebody who wants to get into real estate and let's say they want to wholesale, and let's say they want to flip, they don't have a lot of money, so they hear that you can wholesale with no real estate license, you can wholesale with no money, no credit. Like, that's the last thing you want to put in your messaging. So first off, make sure that your messaging from the beginning, before you even run a webinar, is dialed in for your avatar. But oftentimes, even when you do that, you will still run into some issues. So like I said, first off is messaging, right? So make sure your messaging is on point. You always want to make sure you're talking to the highest quality leads in your database, because even when you're talking to people that have money, there will still be brokies that come in because, look, the reality is they want what they can't have. They want to be successful. Now, just to be clear, they're probably not willing to put in the work to be successful, but they're always going to want it. So if they hear, even though the messaging doesn't necessarily resonate with them, they will still show up. Almost impossible to get rid of all of the brokies. You'll still have some, but you have a higher probability by fixing your messaging. The other thing you can do with your messaging is you can actually add like dollar amounts in it. So for example, if you say, hey, if you make at least $150,000 a year, or hey, if you have $20,000 in the bank ready to invest, or hey, do you have $100,000 and you've been looking at properties to buy right now? You can throw those kinds of things into your messaging and it will start to attract the right type of person. Again, you're gonna get a couple brokies with that. Don't worry about those. Your job is to get the more qualified people you can onto the calls, and obviously hit your ROI goals, hit your ROAS goals. Who do you attract? Okay, and I know this may be like a hard conversation because everybody hopes that they get high lead quality, especially if you're a coach or something. You've had success, right? So you're like, hey, I've made $50,000 a month, or I made $3 million a year, whatever that may be. You've had the success, but that doesn't mean you're also gonna attract the people that you want, right? Most of these people are newbies, especially in biz op offers. And so first off, take a step back and like look at who you are, look at what you attract, right? I would recommend you go to your Instagram and you just look at the types of profiles. You also look at the data to say, how old is my demographic? Where is my demographic located? Like, who do I naturally attract? Because the color of your skin, boy or girl, man or woman, right? Like, those are the kind of things that you'll attract. Your age attracts. So if you are somebody who's in your 40s, you're gonna attract more sophisticated audience that typically has more money. If you're like 25, 22, you're gonna attract 22 and 25-year-olds, which, to be honest, don't usually have as much money. And so you have to also look at that. If you tend to naturally attract a lower quality audience that has no money, then you are gonna have to do very hardcore messaging, and you're gonna have to do one of these next 3 steps in order to probably break out of the brokey cycle. So the second thing that we do is called pixel conditioning, right? And so number 2 is your pixel. Now, pixel conditioning is a method of sending back specific data to your pixel so that you can condition it to go after higher quality people. Now, if your messaging is broken, this will not work. If your messaging is not on point, it does not matter how good you condition your pixel if you only send certain things back. If you're saying the wrong things, Facebook is not going to find the right people. The cool thing about the way that Facebook works nowadays is there's very little targeting involved. Like you can almost leave everything broad all the time and it's gonna go after who you put in the messaging, okay? So if you put the wrong people, who gives a shit how good your pixel conditioning is? It's still not gonna get after the right one. So first off, you wanna make sure you have this. Then second, you wanna move into pixel conditioning. And so how do you do pixel conditioning? One of the things that we do is you're only gonna send back very specific data to the pixel. So let's say, for example, you've got your ad and you're sending them to a landing page, and your landing page here, you then send them to, let's say, a thank you page, right? And so on the thank you page, this is where you're sending the data back to the pixel, okay? And so the way that you can do this is instead of sending all of the traffic here, you can actually segment different traffic into a different page. So like a different page right here. And this could be like maybe a DQ page. And so on this DQ page, it is not pixeled. So only the qualified leads that land here get sent back to the pixel. And what that allows the pixel to do is start to learn off of who you deem as qualified. Because the way that Facebook will work is when you send back a conversion event, that's how Facebook optimizes your ads. If no conversion event comes back, Facebook has no idea who to go after. And so it's just gonna continue to keep trying and trying and trying. But if you're only sending back, let's say for example, leads with at least $20,000 to invest, then Facebook will start to find leads that have $20,000 to invest, that have all these similarities. Like Facebook looks at literally thousands and millions of data points per person based on their search history, based on their things like credit score. I'm sure they can still do credit score, we just don't know it. Based on like what they buy, based on their behavior on Facebook, based on things that they watch, right? Like there's so much data that they have on every single person. They will begin to look at specific people that look like the people you're sending back to the pixel. And so one of the ways that we really like to do with this is we call it the DQ trap, right? And so in this scenario right here, what we do is it goes from ad to landing page to thank you page, and we do not pixel this thank you page. What we do is we actually add a survey to the thank you page that will ask a series of questions, and depending on what people answer, it will either not send them to a thank you page. It will just say like, it'll say thank you here, thanks for filling out the survey. But if they're qualified, it then sends them to the thank you page that's qualified, right? And this is where you pixel the data, right? Or what you can do is you can also use the conversion event, that'll send it back to the pixel, right? And so be very, very careful with who you send back to your pixel, because your pixel will learn. And a side note here, if your cost per lead is super, super, super cheap, it's actually something that I worry about nowadays. Back in the day, I didn't actually worry about it too much with all these new updates, the Andromeda updates. Let's say, for example, your lead cost is $5, $6. This usually means your quality is down, right? So your quality typically is gonna be a little bit lower. Recently, what I've seen, especially when you have more affluent offers and you've implemented messaging and you're implementing this, you could have up to like a $20, $25 lead cost, and you can just get the most pristine leads. So as of late, I haven't really been worried as much about lead quality, because what we're doing is with this survey, we can also see who's qualified, not qualified pre-webinar, so that we can then adjust our ads, right? And so don't worry as much about lead costs, because usually low lead cost also means low lead quality. Higher lead cost oftentimes does mean higher lead quality. Be careful though, because it's not always true. You could have things like a shitty landing page, you could have things like shitty ads, you can have all sorts of things that can still drive up that cost. But if you're dialed in and you're adding these parameters that help get data back to Facebook that's more qualified, you could potentially have a lead cost, but your quality is also high, which also means more sales, right? All right, and number 3 is actually choosing different objectives inside of Facebook. So objectives. So when you're in Facebook, when you're running a webinar, most people are always choosing lead, okay? And the thing about Facebook's optimization process is that it has so much data on this person right here that's a lead. It basically tells you all of these people are lead people. They're people that typically will opt in as a lead. They like to opt into things. They like to sign up for things. So Facebook looks for people that are usually lead people. A great example of this is if you ever use the traffic objective inside of Facebook, you get little to zero results, because Facebook basically just says, hey, these people are traffic people. They love to click buttons, but they never perform the action on the page or whatever you want them to do. Early advertisers are typically loving traffic because they get these vanity metrics and they're like, oh, my cost per click is 10 cents, right? But the people that are clicking are deemed by Facebook as clickers, but they don't perform, they don't turn into leads, they don't buy, they don't purchase, like they do nothing but click. So Like same thing, similar with lead. So lead is kind of like at the low quality spectrum. There's a lot of other things you can add above that that can give you a higher quality, right? And so the second one, as an objective, which is technically still within a lead category, is complete registration, right? So complete registration is like the next level of quality. It's somebody who basically is completing a full registration for a call, or completing like a form to go like to an office or something like that. So Facebook deems that person as like a little bit higher quality. Now, when you do this, you have to remember that your cost per lead in this instance is always going to go up, right? So everybody still is considered a lead, but you're choosing a different objective, right? And that objective tells Facebook, I want these types of people. And those types of people are historically better buyers, higher quality people. You can use complete registration. You can also use schedule. So if you've ever ran a VSL, you ran anything like that, you're choosing schedule. You want people to schedule calls. So think of it like this. A lead is just somebody who gives you their information, right? A complete registration is someone who gives you their information, fills out a survey. A scheduled call is someone who becomes a lead, fills out a survey, and then books a call. And so you can see how the pyramid of quality starts to increase, right? And so schedule is actually a really good one. Again, your cost is gonna go up. And so my recommendation would be to test all of these. If you're stuck at low lead quality and you've already tried number 1, messaging, number 2, pixel conditioning, it's time to jump into changing your objectives inside of Facebook, right? And the fourth one you can choose is sales, which is purchase, right? So when you choose a purchase objective, you're basically at the top of the pyramid for the highest quality that you're going for. These are people that literally spend money. And so what's important to note about purchases is that your lead cost is going to 3 to like 8x. So if you're getting like a $5 lead cost, you could literally end up with like a $30 to almost $50 lead cost with a purchase objective. And that's why this is really important to look at the quality of lead that you have and test these out. Because I have certain clients that them as a brand, they will typically attract a high quality lead, and I never have to touch complete registration, schedules, purchases, none of that. I don't have to touch any of that, right? But if you're getting low lead quality, this isn't working, this doesn't work, this doesn't work, this one right here may work for you because you're getting the cream of the crop of people. Facebook deems these people, they're like probably the smallest percentage, but they deems them as purchasers. They buy things, they go to websites, they go to e-commerce websites, and they're just buying stuff all the time. And so Facebook will give you the highest quality leads, but again, you have to withstand this crazy lead cost, and you have to make sure that that lead cost justifies the ROI in the back end. A lot of times, if you're getting a $5 lead cost, these people, let's say for example, they convert at like 0.5% of all leads. But a purchase, if they're a $30, they may convert at like a 4%. And that's a big difference between a 0.5 and a 4, right? That is literally an 8x difference, right? And so this right here is 6x, this is 8x, right? And so does this make sense? Yes, you can use your purchase objective, right? Last but not least, and this also works extremely well, is custom events, right? And so custom events, this is within the same category, number 2 or number 3 of objectives, is you can create your own custom event. So when I talked about this up here with pixel conditioning, when we're sending back specific stuff to the pixel right here, that is how you can choose your custom events. And so essentially what you'll do is when you're sending back that data, you'll call it something specific. You'll call it, let's say, qualified lead, right? And so after enough time, and this is really important, is after enough time of you sending back this data, literally I'm talking about hundreds of data points. If you only send back like 50 to 100, it's not gonna perform really well. I'm talking about like hundreds to thousands of different qualified leads going back to the pixel as this special custom event. That's when you can turn it into the objective in the ads, right? So your custom event can be qualified lead, and this right here is equal to all of the quality leads. So all quality leads come back as this, and you can use this as your actual objective in Facebook, okay? This works really well, especially if the purchase is getting too expensive. This one right here is essentially the objective that you have created that's specific to your business for your type of qualified lead that you consider qualified. All of these that we're talking about up here, these are all standard events inside of Facebook. You created this one custom to your business. And that's why this one works so well. But again, be very careful because this will not perform very well unless it has enough data to perform well. Remember, these right here, all of these custom events or these standard events, they have billions and billions of data points from Facebook. Facebook knows who these people are. Yours is somewhat new, and it's trying to learn who those custom events are and who those quality leads are. And number 4, last but not least, if you've tried everything, you've changed the messaging, you've conditioned the pixel with thousands of different data points, you've tried all of the conversion objectives, and nothing is working, everybody's still broke, you need to do a paid event, okay? And a paid event essentially is just charging somebody to show up to the event. We recommend doing no less than 2 days. So these can be 2 days to 5 days. I'm sure you've seen like 5-day challenges and stuff like that. And the reason why these work out so well is, number 1 is the objective, right? So objective, when we're talking about up here and we're looking at your sales objective here, this right here is already going after purchasers because you want to choose the objective as sale and purchase because you're selling a ticket, okay? And so number 1, your objective is a purchase objective, which gives you a higher quality lead right out of the gate because that's what you need to optimize for. Number 2, they're actually spending money, right? And so when they're spending money with you, it doesn't matter what the ticket price is. Like I've never done this one, but I've heard people doing dollars, like $1 ticket prices, right? I typically will do like a $7 if I'm doing a 2-day, or I'll do like a $27 or $47 if I'm doing a multiple 3 to 5 day, right? And by somebody just paying, what that allows you to do is to see who's willing to put up money. They're not the freebie seekers. They're the people that are willing to put up money, even if it's a small amount. They're willing to put up money for their education. That will tell you that they're going to be willing to put up money later when they actually want to buy whatever it is, buy the program. And they're willing to invest, okay? And these people show up at a much higher rate. Your quality lead is through the roof. And so the 4th thing that we recommend, if nothing else worked, is paid events. Now, there's been plenty of times when I personally also, working with clients, have done all of these things and nothing worked. And we had to go to paid events, and there's a massive difference. There's a massive shift in the lead quality. You go from, let's say 30% of your leads are qualified to literally like 70% of your leads qualified by just charging them a ticket price. The downside to this is that it is crazy expensive. So if you normally, let's say, have a cost per lead of $10, you're looking at probably $100 to $200 sometimes for a ticket sale. And so same thing here, you have to know your metrics all the way down the funnel. You have to know what your show rate is, you have to know what your cost per show is, you have to know what your ROAS is. Like, you have to make sure that if it's this expensive, that it makes sense all the way down the funnel for you to still make money with your business. And you can try anywhere between 2 days, 5 days, whatever's going to drive the highest revenue for your business. All right, so just to recap, number 1, you're going to do messaging. Make sure your messaging is on point. And this isn't just 1 through 4 isn't one or the other. You should be doing all of these together. Number 2, pixel conditioning. Always condition your pixel to get the highest quality leads. Even if you are not using it as your conversion objective, have it in the background so if you ever need to use it, you can use it. Number 3 is your objectives, right? So start with your standard events, go higher up the funnel in the quality of objective that you're going to choose all the way up to purchases or using custom events. And number 4, we just talked about paid events. This by far is going to give you the highest quality lead all the time. It just really comes down to cost per lead, ROAS, and does it actually make sense for the business. So if you're stuck with brokies, people who have no money, and you cannot scale your webinars or scale your business, this is exactly how you do it. So you're welcome. Stop getting the brokies. Let's go make some money. See you in the next one.